hope you're well. And we're live on Facebook. It has been a little bit, but I'm here and I wanted to come through and have some conversations with you today. Today, I wanted to talk with you about what to do when your doctors are telling you that your chances of conceiving are low. So, this work I wanted to start talking about was birthed out of the experience I had working with different women. I started off focusing on women's wellness, specifically womb wellness, anyone who was dealing with irregular cycles, issues of fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, abnormal bleeding, whatever issues that women experience. This is how this work began. But I started seeing as well that there was a larger percentage of women who felt as though they were really struggling with their bodies after finding out that they're having difficulties trying to conceive. They were not able to conceive spontaneously, right? Percentage says that, most women peak their fertility at the age of 24, and about 96% of women peak at the age of 24. But then there's a percentage of 10% of women in the States and 16% of women in Canada who between the age of 15 and 44 suffer from infertility. And so a lot of women are, falling into that category. And so this is what really started to pique, my interest in this work, because there are a lot of women who are doing, womb wellness and steaming and all these different things. But I felt as though the frustration and sadness that I was encountering, really touched me, really touched me, because I was seeing women who had, hyperovulation, friends of mine who are going to the doctors and saying the woman, they're almost 40. And, the ultrasound tech is saying that you've got ovaries of a 15-year-old, which means that you have a lot of follicles and it's easy for you to get pregnant, and I have friends who have 6 babies, 7 babies, and then on the other hand, I'm surrounded by women who they really just want to carry a baby. They want to experience pregnancy and they want to experience a healthy pregnancy. And they want to have a healthy pregnancy that goes to term. And so that really started to play on me, especially as a Black woman, as a melanated woman, as a woman of color. I myself have experienced, racist comments around my pregnancies. Is it your first or your fifth? Type of thing, are you going to have, the same father for all of your children? People are very, very rude, and so then going into the hospitals, getting similar or more snide or more covert, thank you for that love, experiences with healthcare practitioners. Then having these conversations with other women who are experiencing, infertility and going to see their primary caregivers and not feeling as though they're heard, not feeling as though they're being taken seriously, and then just kind of left to themselves, right? And so this is how this work was birthed, really observing what the issues are and then how I can be of service. And just imagine, you've got all these plans in your mind, of how you want to build up your family and, just start your legacy. And you go to the doctor and your doctor says to you that your chances of conceiving are low to none, right? If we do extract your follicles, and you don't have enough and they're not healthy enough, this is for people who have gone to IVF clinics and gone through that process, that really, it affects you. It affects your psychology. It affects your physical body. It affects your emotions. It affects the confidence that you have in yourself. And oftentimes you'll either fix your mind and become determined to find an alternate solution and to reach that goal and that dream of becoming a mom, or you may accept that lot that you've been given, accept the diagnosis and the diagnoses that you've been given, and not move beyond that. So my work encompasses healing on all levels, right? We look at emotional, we look at mental, we look at spiritual, and we look at physical. So it was a question of me deciding how I can create more possibility for those women. How can I open up those pathways for those women who are not able to conceive? And so it really begins with, I'm just looking at my notes here. What started happening was, as I started working with women and changing the trajectory, I began, working with twisted ovaries. I began working with women who were on the verge of hysterectomies and saving them from that, twisted ovaries, and helping them to untwist them and conceive, and, removing the concern that doctors had of extreme bleeding, on the verge of, emergencies because your blood panels are wrong, or not wrong, but your blood panels are concerning, right? So the biggest part of this journey that I have faced with clients and with prospects is helping them to understand that although this is what your doctor has said, this is not the end all be all for you. And what that turns into is you, first of all, taking a little bit more time to give your body a chance to accept the shock, because there's a shock, right? There's a shock that you actually receive, and it jars you, right? And looking at how I can service you better. I actually started off doing one-to-one sessions, as we all do. You book an appointment with a practitioner. I was doing a lot of energy work at the time. I'm a Reiki master, Raseki, color therapy, all these different things. I was doing a lot of one-to-one sessions and infusing my clients with this womb wellness. But the issue that I kept seeing and I kept coming up against was one and done is not enough. One and done is not enough. There are so many different layers to healing. There are so many different layers to reestablishing a proper hormonal balance. There are so many layers to getting your gut health in place. There are so many layers to needing to be held accountable, and so a lot of my one-off clients, they began, they're leaving with the frustration, because whereas you have that 1 hour session with me, but it doesn't mean that you have arrived at that level of healing you're striving for and striving towards, right? So the problems that they were experiencing was that they couldn't commit to the path on their own. This is a really difficult path. It's really, really challenging, and doing it by yourself is hard. There's also a level of accountability. Am I doing the work? What am I doing the work for? Can I be consistent with the work? Can I pull through to the end, right? And another issue I was seeing with my one and done clients, with my one-off clients, is that we would have this one session and they would go off and do their thing. And then I may not hear from them again until years later. And then they come back thinking that we can just pick up and go on. And it's like, well, there's a little bit more complexities than that, because it isn't that we're just dealing with, the state of where you are right now. We're dealing with a chronic hormonal situation that you haven't spent enough time dealing with, right? So I was really thinking about this and taking it on, very personally, like, how can I help them? How can I be of service to them? And so I began creating sets of threes, let's come back and let's work in sessions of threes, go and do the work, come back to me, and let's see how this is going. And this began to address the issue. But I'm also the type of person where I really, really take pride in pouring into my clients and giving a lot. And so it's like, I can give you some, but I can't give you everything because we don't have enough time. And I don't want to be sending you all these messages all the time, and then you've got all these questions and it opens up a whole new thing. So it's like, well, what can I do? So I began setting up protocols, right? So the idea is setting up these protocols and slowing down the pace even more, because this is not something that you can rush. Thank you all so much for the love. If you have experienced that, if you have experienced resistance from your healthcare practitioners, if you have experienced negative responses, about your fertility from your healthcare practitioners, slowing down the pace and learning how to align with your rhythm is key. It's crucial. It's important. If you can't do that, then you can't do that, right? If the doctors can't identify where your period is, if they're not able to identify where you are on your cycle, if they can't find the follicles, if they can't do any of that, then yes, they're going to tell you that there isn't anything you can do. Give thanks for the love. They're going to tell you that there isn't anything that they can do. I'm here to tell you that there is a lot that we can do, but it requires that you slow down the pace. It requires that you take more time. Right? So what I began noticing as I started creating these containers for these women, we began seeing periods normalizing, without the medication, without high levels of medication. And we began avoiding surgeries altogether. We began seeing better blood panels. We began seeing women having severe 9 on 10 symptoms going down to 1 on 10, to 0 on 10. We began, receiving information like, doctors saying, whatever it is that you're doing, whoever it is that you're working with, keep on working with them. We began seeing, healthy pregnancies. I've recently pivoted this work. And I still have let's say a 75% rate. I was counting the other day and I gave somebody the wrong number, but I have a 75 rate right now. And, these women who, have been wanting to get pregnant, hi there, not able to get pregnant, struggling to get pregnant for years, and us having, our series of sessions, whether it was energy healing, whether it was yoni steaming, whether it was massaging, whether it was me teaching you and having that success, this topped and trumped everything that I was doing. As someone who became pregnant easily, and there are a lot of us women who have spontaneous pregnancies, and as someone who give thanks for that love, and as someone who, and I struggled with that. It's like, okay, it's so easy for me to get pregnant, and then, people around me are not conceiving. I really took that on personally. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like something that I'm not thinking about, and it just happens so easily for me, and these women are suffering. And so to be able to create that container and to be able to get changes, to see changes for them, and to see them, these messages, Odessa, I'm pregnant, and these babies are growing. It's like, wow, I see pictures of some of these babies now, and I'm so proud, that this is what I was able to do. And so these unique challenges are surmountable. They are surmountable. Women, folks, people, you have to align yourself with the right tools, with the right people, with the right methods that are going to support you along that journey for you to get the results that you're looking for. There's a lot of rush. There's a lot of haste, Trini Cherry 21 says, where are you located? I'm located in Canada. I work virtually with my clients right now, and I send them all the tools that they need for their medicine. Trini Cherry, thank you for asking. If you'd like, we can have a conversation about this later on. But there's so much rush and a lot of haste that we fall into because it's about time. You know what I mean? Like, my ovaries are not 25 years old. I'm older. I want to start a family. You know, there's so much pressure. I'm approaching 40. I'm over 40. I need to get this done. I'm feeling like, you know, I'm menopausal. I'm perimenopausal, you know, and so there's this, you know, get it done, get it done, get it done. And I understand that. I completely get it. You know, like, even for myself, I look at things that I have, at least I think I have not completed in my life. And I'm 38. I'm telling you all, I'm 38. My brother thinks I'm younger. He keeps quoting a younger number, but I'm 38. I've finished 1/3 of my life. I've completed 1/3 of my life. And you know, I think that there are a lot of things I haven't completed. So I have 4 children. So I can imagine, you know, women who have done other things and don't have a family, right? But rushing through this process is not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. Jumping from one thing to the other, trying one hack and the other, you know, that's not the way to do it. I'm just here looking at my work. You need accountability. You need accountability on that journey. And what I have seen is that you need a container. You know, you need a container where you can step into, right, and walk your way through and ask the questions and learn the techniques and integrate the work, right? And make the mistakes and come back again. And this is what seems to build up the momentum in these women and create the kind of environment that's needed for their wombs to become receptacles of their first babies, right? You have questions, you have worries, you know, you've reached your limit of energy and you feel depleted. And so you need to re-up, you need to refill, you know, and working just primarily with your health caregivers gives you a level of support and confidence. But we all know that we've had a list of questions that we need to ask, that we need to get off of our chest, and we have felt rushed by our primary caregivers. We have felt as though we are unable to answer the questions and take the time that's needed to walk through the process and receive the answers, to feel confident as we return back to our lives. Greetings, thanks for that, love. So I have the capacity for that. That's what I do. That is what I offer. And so if your doctors, if your primary caregivers, if your health practitioners, your fertility doctors, and your fertility clinics have been telling you that your chances of conceiving are low, there might be something to that. There is a truth to that. It does not mean that that is the end. There is a percentage of women who will not be able to carry a child to term. This is the truth. There is a percentage of women who may not be able to use their own ovaries, their own eggs, to create a baby to grow, right? And there is still a percentage of women who are experiencing the difficulty of getting pregnant, but it is possible. There is still a possibility. There's a light, there's a candle, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. And so that's what I'm here for. So yes, very, very true. I think developing a great team will give you the best success. Having a team, having support is the way to do it. And it's so interesting you say that. Adelina's Embrace. I hope I said your name right. It's important because we often think that we have to go through things alone. We often think, especially when it comes to something like infertility, fertility issues, we often think we don't want people, fertility doula, give thanks. We often think that people shouldn't know what's going on, that we shouldn't share. Because the truth is, honestly, there's a large percentage of people who really don't care. You know, they don't care. They may not be compassionate. They may not empathize. They may say, oh, okay, well, you can try something else and move on, right? And you're stuck with your angst, you know, and then you're like, well, why did I tell them? But there are people who do this work. Fertility advocate. That's right. There are people who advocate for you. There are people who can help you, guide you along that way, and not just like a mix mash of different things, but really give you the tools and the tips and the tricks and the hacks, the methods and the protocols that you need to put into place, maintain, and be accountable to receive the kinds of results that you're looking for. If you have had these kinds of diagnoses, it is not the end all and be all. So I just wanted to come on and let you all know this. And if this is something that you are experiencing, if you have received, this kind of response from your healthcare givers, if you have known this for a while, if you have been struggling to conceive for the last 2+ years, if you have chronic health conditions and you're over the age of 30, I want to invite you to come into my inbox, and you can message me or you can book a next step call, and we can just have a conversation about where you're at and what the gaps are in your health. Adelina's Embrace says nutrition, exercise, life coach, therapist that specialize in fertility and maternal health. Amen. That's exactly what it is. You need people who specialize in this work, and that's what I do. I create that container for you. I set that ground. Beautiful IG Live today. Give thanks so much for this love. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So if this is something that you have been experiencing, if this is something that you have been working through, I want to invite you to hop on a call with me. And once you hop on a call with me, you'll actually be able to fill in a pregnancy prep assessment. And this assessment it's a little mini quiz that I created to help you get clear on the gaps in your wellness, right? And the gaps on your journey. And once you fill in that assessment, you come back on our call, or you come to our first call, and we discuss your prep test, and we discuss the answers. Yes, I will be saving this live, and I will be posting it onto my page. So you can definitely, go back and take a look at it at any time. And please share with anyone you think needs this help. And so that's it, y'all. I just wanted to come on and share. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. And I'll be back again soon, because I feel as though I have more things that I want to share with you. Give thanks for that love so much. Adelina's Embrace. Y'all take care. Be well. Bye-bye.